What up, sports fans and fellow foodies? I'm Julie, and welcome to my kitchen, where each week I talk sports while whipping up culinary creations. At the end of last week's video, I gave you a tease. I said I was probably going to do something this week involving the NFL draft. So I'm going to make good on my promise, even though the draft was meh. The overall draft to me, not a lot of flash, not a lot of excitement. I know there were a flurry of trades, but nothing of huge significance. And there weren't a lot of big name, high-powered quarterbacks, high position players in that first round that got people excited. And then there was the Bears draft, which this is nothing against any of the players they chose. They seem like great high character guys, but they didn't exactly seem to be drafting for need. Now their first round pick was a safety. They do need help in their secondary, and they wound up taking a kid from Oregon, Dylan Thieneman. Seems terrific. I don't have a problem with that one. But the Bears on day 2 drafted nothing but offense, and on day 3 they waited till their final pick, which was in the 6th round, to take a defensive lineman when they needed an edge rusher badly. So little confounding, this Bears draft. To me, it was a little flat. One thing that's not flat, fresh beer when you pop open the can. We're gonna be making some beer cheese bread tonight, and that's gonna deliver a little bit better than the Bears front office did. All right, so here's where we're gonna start tonight. Super simple in terms of ingredients. The beer is gonna do the work for you. It is going to provide the major leavening agent. We're gonna start with 3 cups of flour, but this is not all-purpose flour. Pay attention, kids, you want to use self-rising flour. It is different. It has baking powder already incorporated into the flour. If you don't have self-rising flour, don't run to the store and pick some up. I'm all about trying to give you guys ideas and recipes with things you have in your pantry. If you don't have the self-rising flour, you're gonna use 1 cup all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now our recipe is calling for 3 cups of flour, so in that case it would be 3 cups AP flour. You'd have 4.5 teaspoons or 1.5 tablespoons of your baking powder, and you'd have 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Got all that? So you want to try and have this if possible, but if you don't, you can manufacture your own in your kitchen. So I right here have the self-rising flour, and the only thing I'm adding to this is 1 tablespoon granulated sugar. That's it. That's all our dry ingredients. And because we have that baking powder already incorporated in there, and we're going to use the fizz from our beer, there's not even any eggs in here. So if you have somebody who has restrictions, either religious or dietary, where they don't eat eggs, this is great. This gives them a spot to work with where they don't have to worry about those eggs being in the batter. What we're gonna do, we're going to add 12 ounces of a pale ale or a some sort of light beer. You don't want to have anything that's super heavy. You don't want a stout. We want something that's a little bit lighter on this one. I went with a hometown favorite, Goose Island. Started out right here in Chicago. This is their hazy beer hug. And I went with it because it looks like a Chicago Bear on the can, right? Now this is so you guys can see it a little bit better on camera, but this is too much to pour in your bread. This is 20 ounces. So we're gonna go with a nice little 12 ounce, which is about a standard regular size can. Don't you love that sound? Or you could have a bottle of beer. They're gonna be 12 ounces. So as we're adding this in, and this one, by the way, has a little bit, it has like some grape and peach notes in it. If you're not big on like fruity beers or ales, that's okay. You can skip this one. I was going for the visuals. But whatever you wind up using, you're gonna pour this in. And again, this is going to help your bread to rise. Whole can's going in. You're gonna see all that beautiful bubbling there, that foaminess. And I'm gonna start by just incorporating it with a spoon to work it in here, but you do not wanna overwork your bread dough. It's gonna be too tough if you do that. So we've got our whole can in there. This really makes me wanna just like take a sip of the other one. So, you know, just for quality control, I think we will, just to see if it's as good as I remember it being. That's good, that delivers. Better be Bears draft picks delivering next year, especially on defense. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and incorporate this with our spoon. Now, it's going to be very, very sticky. And we're doing this with a spoon, not a mixer or anything like that. You don't need a dough hook. It's a really simple one to pull together. And again, our base here is 3 ingredients. Your self-rising flour, your 1 tablespoon granulated sugar, and your 12 ounces of beer or pale ale. We're working that in just to get it incorporated. We still got that foam in there. And now we're gonna get our hands dirty, because isn't that what football is all about? Rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty. I'm gonna work this in with my fingers. It's gonna get really sticky. But that's kind of what you want. You want the dough to be a little sticky. It's gonna have some nice pockets in it. It's gonna be an airy bread with lovely strings of cheese. Don't get any ideas, Packers fans. I'm not making this for you. But a little cheese is always good in anything we make here in the kitchen, so it's all good. Right now you can see how sticky this is. I'm gonna go ahead and mix it in a little bit more, scrape some of this off my fingers, and then we're gonna add our superstar ingredient, and that is some cheese. We're using a sharp cheddar, and if you remember from some of our videos in the last few weeks, I mentioned try not to use the bagged shredded cheese if you can help it. Just because it's got coating on it, that like a flour or an additive that keeps it from sticking in the bag, but you don't really want that in your ingredients if you can help it. It's okay if you need to use it. But if you can go ahead and grate your own cheese, I'd say go for it. All right, we're a little bit messy here, bear with me. I have a block of sharp cheddar, just like this, that I've been working on my box grater. I love the box grater. And you can just feel that the cheese just feels more authentic. And make sure you don't grate your fingers into that, because that would be an ingredient we do not want in your bread. But what you're going for is 1.5 cups of your shredded cheddar. Ta-da! We've got our 1 cup measured already. So I only need another 1/2 cup, which we easily have here. We're gonna put that in. Oh, we got a little bit left there that we're gonna use at the very end. So again, we're going to mix this in. We're gonna get it all nice and incorporated. And then we're gonna put this in our bread pan. I'm using a 9-inch bread pan. You can use 9-inch, 10-inch, and just give it a little bit different height. But either one, whatever you have in your kitchen. If you wanna put it in mini loaf pans, go for it. You do wanna have a little bit of light spray or butter in it, because the cheese content in here is gonna make this bread a little sticky. So you want it to come out all nice and pretty and not stick in your pan. Okay, so if you see what I got working here, there's our dough. That is gonna go in our bread pan right here. I'm gonna squish that down in just a second so that we can get it to stretch out a bit. Push it in the corners. And you don't mind getting a little sticky, right? But don't eat the raw bread dough. It's not as much fun as like raw cookie dough. All right, so if you see what I got going on here, push it down a little. Beautiful thing about this, you don't have to let it rise, you don't have to punch it and let it double. This is ready to go. You don't have to sit around and wait for your bread to be ready to go in the oven. That's what we're looking like. All righty, the next thing that's going on top here, I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter. So I'm gonna take this and pour it right over the top. This is gonna give you a really nice golden brown crust. Just make sure I get it on every little nook and cranny on there. That'll also help you, because it's warm butter, it'll help you to smooth out your top here. And then we're gonna add some of that shredded cheese back in on top, because that's gonna make it look oh so delicious. And now if you do wanna add some of your cheese shreds, here's where I'll say, okay, go ahead. You can add a little bit, because that's gonna give you an extra brownness on top. So I'm gonna add just a little smidge of those and get them in the corners. And here's what it's gonna look like, ready to go in the oven. Ooh, that butter just running off the edges is flipping amazing. Okay, so if you've been following what's been going on with Chicago baseball of late, we actually had some hotness in Chicago baseball this past week, which was much more exciting than the Bears draft. Sorry, Bears. The Cubs had a 10-game winning streak after they won in LA on Friday night. The Sox not only were putting together some wins on their West Coast road trip, but they had their Japanese slugger, Munetaka Murakami. He was on fire, taking the top of the leaderboard in Major League Baseball. Well, sharing it, but still at the top. And he was hitting home runs that were majestic to watch. Must-see TV when that guy comes to the plate. So we're going to give you a couple quick tips on if you want to pay homage to those guys. I have here some red pepper flakes. So if you want to incorporate those red hot Cubs, at least till the last 2 games in LA, you can go ahead and add this as a mix-in, and these are optional. And if you want to pay tribute to the White Sox Japanese slugger, Mooney, this is a Japanese rice seasoning. It is called furikake, F-U-R-I-K-A-K-E. You can find it in the Asian aisle at your supermarket. And if I'm gonna be honest with you, it looks a little bit like fish food. So I'm gonna shake some of it out. It smells pretty good, and especially if you like sushi, you'll like the notes in this one. But it's got some sesame seeds, it's got some dried fish flakes, some seaweed, some salt. So that is something you can mix in if you decide you want to go that route. If you decide you want to add a little Asian sensation flavor. Or you can add scallions, you can add a little bit of soy sauce swirled into your butter. None of those are necessary, they're just optional add-ins because I want to make sure I pay tribute to the Cubs and Sox and what they were up to up until Friday. And then it got a little bit ugly this weekend, but we won't talk about that right now. All right, this is ready to go in the oven. You're going into a 350 oven. It's going to bake for about 45-50 minutes. You want it to get nice and brown on top. And when you stick a toothpick or a skewer in, it's gonna come out mostly clean unless you hit some pockets of cheese. So this is ready to go in the oven, and this is ready for us to check out right now. So let's grab my cutting board and my knife because you know you're dying to see what this looks like, right? I'm dying to see what it looks like. I love bread. I'm Polish, we love bread. I mean, most people do, but look at how pretty that popped out of my nonstick pan there. We'll flip it over. We're gonna slice a little piece off. Oh my gosh, you can see some of the steam. You can see the swirls of cheese in here. I mean, this doesn't even need butter. But of course I'm gonna put butter on it because bread's better with butter, right? Here's what it looks like. We've got this beautiful cheesy inside. It smells, oh, it's got a little bit of our nice pale ale here, but it's also got that just warm baked goodness smell and that butter, and it's permeating when you open your oven door. I mean, you're gonna wanna make this tonight. I know you are. But came together super quickly, super easy, and whether your draft for your favorite team was fizzy or flat, at least your bread came to play. Your bread showed up. All right, I'm gonna dig into this. Thanks for joining me in my kitchen. I'll see you back here next time.